Hey everybody, it's Zach here. Welcome back to Clapperboard, where I'll be doing another movie review. This time I'm going to be reviewing Rogue One, a Star Wars story. Rogue One, a Star Wars story is the latest installment in the Star Wars saga, and it takes place between Episode 3 and Episode 4. It stars Felicity Jones, Deigo Luna, Ben Mendleson, Donny Yen, Alan Tudyk, and Mads Mikkelsen. It's directed by Gareth Edwards, and it revolves around the character of Jyn Erso, whose father begrudgingly worked construction on the Death Star, the giant planet killer we see in Episode 4, A New Hope. However, he's left a secret but purposeful weakness inside the Death Star that can lead to its destruction, so it's up to Jyn and a group of rebels to fly to the Galactic Empire to recover the plans, and can uncover the secret weakness that can lead to the Death Star's destruction. Okay guys, I'd just like to start off this review as snappy as possible. I loved Rogue One, a Star Wars story. I went into the theatre with my sister and my cousin. We went into the theatre, we sat down with a group of other people to watch the movie, and at the end of the movie, when I came out of the theatre, I was pumped. It was that good. It's not perfect, don't get me wrong, but it's a fun, enjoyable, intense movie which I will happily watch again, and I will happily pay good money to buy it on Blu-ray because it was just frickin' intense, guys. I loved it. I can happily say to you guys that I 100% recommend this movie, and I've got to say, it's one of my favourite Star Wars movies. Now, don't get me wrong, it's not as good as the originals, it's not as good as The Force Awakens, it is a million times better than the prequels, obviously, because, you know, we know why those movies aren't good, but I will say that this is a good movie, I love it, I enjoyed it, I will happily watch it again, and I've got a lot to say about this movie, so let's dig right in. I'll start off with what I usually start on in my movie reviews, which is the acting, but I really don't have a lot to say about the acting in this movie. It was great. Enough said, there was really no bland acting, it was all very, very good. The characters themselves were mostly colourful, they had fun personalities, you enjoyed being along with them, it was great seeing them along go through this ride, and they were all just really fun characters to be around. They were empowering, they could be emotional, they could be angry, they could be sad, they went through a wide range of emotions, and you know, they really did pull me into the story. However, that does get onto a bit of a problem with the movie, which is, I think the reason why I was attached to these characters, and I was attached to them, I was attached to these characters, but I think the reason why I was attached to them was more over their colourful personas, their personalities, their one-liners, what they were given in the script, rather than any depth or characterization, because the characters, you gotta admit that the characters are a bit dull. They don't really have a lot of backstory. Aside from our main character, Jyn, played by Felicity Jones, there wasn't really a lot to go with the other characters. You didn't really have a lot of backstory to go with. They weren't exactly the most three-dimensional characters I've ever seen. They were moreover just fun to be around because of what they were given in terms of the script and their lines, which is fine, but I would have preferred them to have a bit more personality and depth. I will say, however, and this was a big positive with the movie, it was really funny. There were always a load of jokes going on. I've forgotten his name, but the droid that is always following our characters around, the reprogrammed Imperial Empire droid, whatever his name was, I don't really remember his name, he was always cracking one-liners. He was being really sarcastic and really snarky. Everyone was chuckling in the theatre. I chuckled quite a lot. You have the blind sort of religious force user who was blind, and he has the bag pulled over his head. And he's like, seriously, I'm blind? You know, that got a good laugh out of people. Despite the characters' quite flat, almost canvas-like backdrops, I was attached to the characters, guys, so much that I was on the edge of my seat. In the action sequences, in the scenes where, you know, the characters are in danger, I was on the edge of my seat, guys. I was really wondering how they were going to pull this off, which, if you ask me, is a really... it means you've done your film right, basically. With that being said, the movie is by no means perfect. I did have problems with it. I think one of the biggest problems I did have with the movie was the fact that the first act of the movie, even a bit less of the first act of the movie, did feel quite convoluted and quite rushed, because unlike all of the other Star Wars movies we've seen, There was no opening crawl, there was no title sequence, there was no, because basically in the Star Wars movies you don't really need exposition, because the opening crawl gives you the exposition in a nutshell. This movie didn't have that, because it's the first standalone Star Wars film, so therefore there was exposition, and it came off as very, very glossed over, very rushed, and it took me a while to actually get hooked into the movie, maybe about around 15 to 10 minutes. It was hard to get a grip around what was going on, because there was so much exposition going on, and it felt like really phoned in and clunky. With that being said, I got pulled into the movie after the first 15 minutes, and it got much better after that. Another one of the problems I did have with the movie was the fact that the characters really didn't have a backstory, aside from our main character, whose relationship with her father could be quite poignant and powerful at times, especially when she watches the hologram of her father delivering how he really missed her and stuff like that. None of the characters really have any backstory, and therefore they come off as a bit flat. There's no moments where they really go through any personal problems, which is why I think it's harder for us to connect with them than it is to connect with Luke and Han and Leia in the original trilogy. From a technical perspective, Rogue One is really well done. It feels like how Star Wars should feel. It's gritty, it's grimy, it's muddy, it's dirty. It's how Star Wars should be. It's futuristic, but in a very grounded, real way. It feels like you could just go into this galaxy and it could be real. There's no doubt in your mind that this is Star Wars. And it is Star Wars. It feels like the original trilogy, and it feels like a direct continuation from Rogue One to A New Hope. I will say, though, as a little bit of a nitpick, some of the shots near the beginning of the film did look a bit blurry and out of focus, and I guess from either the director or the cinematographer, it was a bit of a stylistic choice. It was a bit distracting, though, but it's not the end of the world, and it gets a lot better as the film goes on. The mix of CGI and practical effects is mind-blowing, guys. It looks amazing, guys. You can't tell which is the practical effects and the models and the puppets and which is the CGI. It's that believable, guys. You can tell that there's been a huge amount of effort put into the effects here, guys, because, like I said, it feels real, it feels gritty, it's grounded, and it's totally believable. There was one CGI effect in the film which really did bug me, and that was our CGI Captain Tarkin, because the original actor for Captain Tarkin in the original trilogy died quite a while ago, so they had two choices. They could either hire an actor who looked like the original actor to play Tarkin, or do a motion capture CGI face. They do the motion capture face, and you can tell that there's been a lot of effort put into it. You know, you can see the detail, the effort put into the animation. It's really good, but there's just something that's wrong about it. It falls largely into the uncanny valley. You're physically seeing the CGI face, which has been animated for the most part very well, but you can tell that there's something that's not right, and it really takes you out of the movie. In the scenes in the movie where you should have been going, oh, this is so great, this is so good, I was always going, oh, hi, Uncanny Valley Tarkin, it's you again. The action in this movie was very well done. The director of this movie described Rogue One as sort of being very much a ground war type movie, not exactly the sort of space battles you often see in Star Wars, and it's very well done. A lot of the action scenes took place in several moments at the same time, so they were cutting from one place to another place to another place to another place, and there was only one time where it disoriented me. Oh my gosh. The scene, because remember, guys, how the Death Star in the original trilogy, the Death Star could destroy entire planets by firing a laser beam at them. At this point in the movie, the Death Star can't destroy entire planets, but it can destroy a huge section of the planet. Our characters are on the planet, in this castle, and the Death Star fires its laser down on the planet, and our characters are right next to the city as the Death Star blows up this city, and, you know, it looked amazing, guys. It has to go down as one of the best movie explosions of all time. The CGI was flawless. It was gorgeous to look at. I was on the edge of my seat, my mouth hanging open, spellbound. just spellbound, guys. It was incredible. Our characters have to fly out of that planet, quickly get on a ship, as this wave of destruction is heading towards them. And it's literally, it's a wave of destruction. Mind blown, guys. Seriously. Wow. Getting back to characters and characterization, Darth Vader comes back for this movie. You know, the big bad Darth Vader that we all know from the original trilogy. He comes back in this movie for 2 to 3 scenes out of this entire, 2.5 hour long movie. Maybe even a bit less than that. He gets 2 to 3 scenes in the movie. As far as I'm concerned, they were enough. He was amazing. He does his chokehold thing. He brings out his lightsaber at one point. He kills people. You know, it was great to see him back on screen. You know, we haven't seen him on screen in a while. And when we did see him on screen recently in Revenge of the Sith, he went, "No! No!" So it was great to see the original badass Darth Vader back. He was amazing. Let me tell you guys, it was just fantastic to see him back on screen in how he should have been portrayed. Speaking of characterization, Donnie Yen's character, the blind Force-using character played by Donnie Yen, he is exactly what the Jedi should have been like in the prequels. Being very religious, very spirited, very in touch with the Force, constantly praying, "I'm one with the Force, and the Force is with me," only taking out his weapon when he needs to. I'm sorry, prequel fanboys, but Donnie Yen's character was everything the Jedi weren't in the prequels. That is what the Jedi should have been like. Not Samuel L. Jackson standing around, walking and talking in front of a blue screen, going, "We will discover the identity of your attacker. We will discover this..." I don't even remember. I'm not going to give away too much, guys, but I will also say that at the ending of the film, I got a bit choked up, guys. I did get quite emotional at the ending of the film, because it's an emotional ending. If you watch the film, you'll know what I mean. I'm not going to give anything away for you. Overall, Rogue One, A Star Wars Story, isn't perfect by any means. It's not absolutely bombastically great, but it's a fun, enjoyable, intense, and entertaining movie for the most part. I really enjoyed going to see it, and I'm definitely going to buy it on Blu-ray when it comes out. From the fantastic special effects to the great acting, to the very colourful and likeable characters, despite some one-dimensional backdrops to their personalities, and of course the fantastic direction of the action and the story, as well as feeling like a legitimate prequel to the original trilogy. Overall, I definitely recommend Rogue One to you guys. Whether you're just a casual moviegoer, whether you want to be introduced to the original trilogy in a new way, or, of course, whether you're a hardcore Star Wars fan, go and see Rogue One. I'm sure you're going to enjoy it as much as I did. In fact, I'm just going to say it. You should see the movie right now. I mean, right now. Right now. You know. Buy the tickets right now. Go onto the website, type it in. Buy the tickets this instant, guys. Go see it. It's a good movie. I really enjoyed it. I hope you do too. Also, just in case you guys are wondering which is my favourite Star Wars film and which is my least favourite Star Wars film, here is a list of how I would personally rank the Star Wars movies from best to worst. I would like to say, however, that the day where me, my sister, and my cousin watched Rogue One, it was coincidentally the day just before Carrie Fisher tragically died. Carrie Fisher, of course, having played Princess Leia in the original trilogy. This is incredibly sad. It's such a huge blow to the movie community. It's such a huge blow to the Star Wars community. I'm dedicating this review to you, Carrie Fisher. Thank you for bringing life into Princess Leia. Thank you for bringing her to the big screens. And Carrie Fisher, rest in peace. So guys, thank you so much for watching. Please let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, as your opinions really mean a lot to me. I'll hopefully see you in another video very soon. Until then though, take care.